right, welcome back to Code for Couples. This is Cindy Doyle, LEO wife and licensed professional counselor. And today I have a special guest. I'm so excited. It is Autumn Clifford. You may or may not know her as the Sheepdog Lady. She is on Instagram, all over on Instagram, and she has some great information. She is so passionate about law enforcement and also coming at it from a female perspective. She has a background as a law enforcement officer. So we're going to talk about a couple different topics I wanted to bring forward. But welcome, Autumn. Thank you so much.
Hi, Cindy. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Yes. And just by the way, this is probably an explicit podcast. So if you have kids in the room, this is not the one to listen to on your Bluetooth. So there you go. Warning you, because this is going to be just some honest adult conversation here. So, Autumn, tell everybody a little bit about your background. I know you were a police officer in Maine, right? You're in Maine?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about that. Give us about your background and some of your passion that you have for law enforcement.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been a police officer since I've been 20 years old. I love to tell everybody how I turned 21 in a police car because it's kind of cool.
That's funny.
And I was a police officer for about 6.5 years. I met my fiance in the police academy. We're police academy sweethearts, which is kind of cool.
Aww.
And we never worked on the same department, that's a big thing, especially in Maine. We have really smaller departments. So that's a big thing to hear me talk about. There's for my Lady Sheepdog, not on the same department, please, if it's small. And unfortunately what happened is I got injured on duty. I sustained a pretty impactful, it was a back injury, and it put me out, and so I had to medically retire. And so when I did that, I was on my couch, couldn't do anything, and a lot of people would have really let that get to them. In fact, I talked to a lot of officers, a lot of people who get injured, and they really let that get to them. And so what I did is I said, no, I'm not going to let this hold me back. And I ended up building a business online, but I had to do a lot of soul searching, and I got to do it. And then I just came back to, law enforcement. They're my people,
Yes.
And I know you can attest this, but once you bleed blue, in my opinion, you always bleed blue. And I've really made it my mission to say what law enforcement can't say, right? And do the things what the employed, officers can't do and say.
Yes. And that's one of the things that I really love about your honesty when you're talking, is that you are very direct, you're very straightforward, you have the background, you have the experience, and you can talk from their perspective, but you don't worry about the politics that involved. You don't need to worry about that. And so that's what I kind of have that privilege too. So that's nice. It's a nice way to do it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is. And here's the thing, and I know you know this, but we need that. We're, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, but I really fully believe that our country's at a war with our law enforcement officers. And you know what? I was a cop, right? And in my head, I still am. I just want everyone to know this. My fiance and we have this conversation all the time.
Yeah.
What do you listen, you're not on the road anymore. And I'm listen, I'm still a cop. You can't take it away from me.
I am inside.
Yeah, that's what I tell him. I'm I am. And so I've never lost that. And I think it's so important that, people like us, we say what needs to be said, and we're there. And, not enough people are backing our boys and girls in blue. They're not. And I've decided what, I am. I don't care. I don't care, because eventually enough people will get on board. And here's my hope, is that we're going to create enough waves that we're going to make change.
Yes. Because we have to, it's that momentum. And like you're saying, it's a culture shift that's happened. I actually just did a podcast on the war on cops. And so I was inspired by And just on a side note, I was inspired by what happened. I'm recording this the week before, so I was inspired by Dallas and then the shooting in Maine too. And I was like, this is ridiculous. So yes, totally agree with you. So one of the things that I wanted to make sure to talk to you about was, you have experience as a female in law enforcement. And I want to talk about, first of all, let's clear up some of the misconceptions about a female officer in the field. And then because I want to know, like, what is it like from your perspective? And then I want to turn that around. What I talk a lot about is the code for couples, like making a strong relationship. And so what I want to know is also, what do wives need to know? And then on the flip side, like what does a husband of a female law enforcement officer need to know? So that's what I would love to cover with you.
Absolutely.
So can you talk a little bit, and you did a whole podcast about what it was like to be a female officer, but can you tell us a little bit about the differences besides the obvious ones, right? The biology there, but tell us a little bit about some of the fight that you have as a female officer, maybe some of the stereotypes that you have to deal with. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. So here's the thing: law enforcement is hard. I don't care if it's you're male or female. Doesn't matter if you're young or older. Doesn't matter if you're experienced or you're a complete rookie like I was 20 years old. Law enforcement's hard. But as a female, it's a lot. It's very hard. And I'm not making an excuse because I'm a hard ass, like through and through. And I think that it needs to be hard because the job is getting tougher every single day. And my number one thing is making sure the next officer is going to be damn good backup for myself and for anyone else, right? And so, like, you hear me talk a lot about that. Like, I don't care if you're 4'8" and you weigh 100 pounds, like if you're a good backup, that's all I care about. Or if you're, huge, 6 feet and 240 pounds, like and you're shit backup, then I don't want you as my backup.
Right.
And so as a female, here's something. If somebody's listening and they want to be a female officer, here's what you need to know. You need to learn how to protect yourself. I have I have a background in martial arts. I'm a second degree black belt. I've been in martial arts since I've been 5 years old. In the academy, defensive tactics, I was third in the class of over 60 guys. And so like that's my thing. And in that confidence, that command presence that carried over into the job, and that along with, as you can tell in here, and if you can't tell, you will tell by the end of this episode, I'm very feisty. And that doesn't mean I was rude, doesn't mean I was disrespectful, and it doesn't mean that I was out to arrest or fight anybody. I wasn't. And you can ask anybody that I worked with, like, I was more the kind of, officer who would talk with you and who, like, we'll talk things out. And like, I was never an arrest happy kind of person. I just never was. But that didn't mean that when push came to shove, I wasn't the first person, like, in the fight. And that right there earned me a lot of respect on the job, because the guys and the girls that you work with, male or female, they need to know, right, that you're going to be good backup. And so as a female, like, you're already, like, they're squaring you up, like, right, like, that's just how officers are, and they do it to guys too.
Of course. But
women, we're not as physically stronger than them, and that's fine. That's totally good. Like, don't go head to head with something that, like, it's going to be very difficult to go head to head with the guys with. Like, and that's what I teach my Lady Sheepdogs. Like, you have so many other talents and so much more to bring to the table when you just own your power. Like, learn command presence, learn the verbal judo, be ready to go into a fight. Like, go take a boxing class and get punched. Like, seriously, I spent my whole life getting punched
and kicked.
And when I was on the road, it didn't scare me. Does that make sense? Like, it didn't scare me.
Totally,
like, all right, I've been knocked out, dude. Like, hit me.
and so that's one of the things that I was writing down, was that you didn't have a need to prove yourself. You you had, well, in your mind, you didn't go. So here's one of the things that sometimes people go into a field because
Mm-hmm.
they have a need to overcome something about themselves. And so
Mm-hmm.
some of the psychological mental health, I don't know, maybe mental health, but the psychological aspect is, okay, well, I'm going to overcome by being having this authority. And
Right.
so one of the things that you had going in was you didn't need to prove to yourself
No.
that you were something. You knew, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I've got the skills, I've got the mindset. And that was something that really helped for you to be successful in the field then.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So like it's a really funny story as to how I became a cop. Like it wasn't like I wasn't this person. Like I always like I had two very influential officers in my life,
Okay.
and one was my uncle, he was the chief of police, and then my other was my karate instructor. But it wasn't like I'm gonna be a cop. It was never that. I was
Hmm.
doing hair in a salon, okay?
I cannot
And
see you doing that.
nope, and I hated it. I'm like, and so on a Friday I quit, and or no, it was Thursday I quit. Friday I enrolled in college, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna go be a cop. And and then that's literally what happened, Cindy. I was just like, okay, whatever. So you're right. Like I just kind of have that personality, like, and I kind of had the background from the martial arts, and I was just like, and I didn't get into too much trouble when I was a kid, so
Hmm.
like my background was pretty clean,
Hmm.
and so I
Hmm.
was like, yeah, screw it. But just to go back, because I really want to answer these questions, is that you know, as a woman, like, and a man, okay, and it's not just like, and I'll be very clear, like, because I was very quick to judge every cop I ever worked with, right? Like just like they're
Okay.
just quick to judge me.
Sure.
But like you need to prove yourself. And I'm gonna tell you, like I don't think that needs to change, because that it really makes you and molds you into, a well-respected officer, and you step up to the plate. As a female though, there's just those things. Like it's really taking the time to go and learn how to protect yourself, and don't just do it pre-job, do it while you're in the job, and stay there,
Hmm.
and have that confidence, learning, becoming efficient with your gun. Like I will tell you a little truth bomb is I never shot a gun before I was a cop ever. Like
Okay.
never.
Hmm.
But you know what I did? The moment they trained me, I dry fired from like the moment I got home until the moment I went to bed. I mean, I was dry firing. I was, pulling it out of
Yep.
my holster, and I'd put a penny on my sights, and I would pull, and it made me very efficient. Like I just,
Yes.
and so, I kind of did feel like a bit of an underdog. I mean, I was scared. Like I was a complete rook, like just complete. But here's the thing, and like every female going into this, like you are like, but embrace the challenge, embrace it, and
Okay.
and I'll be honest, like that's why like I started, and I know we're gonna talk about this, but like that's why I started the Lady Sheepdog movement, is because you know I didn't have that female officer to call, to look up to, and be like, hey, I don't know what to do. I
Right.
didn't have that. It was all men, and like I didn't know what to believe and what to
Hmm.
trust, and I didn't want to be judged. And so I made a lot of mistakes, but
Hmm.
because at the end of the day, and I don't care what anyone says, this is the truth, because at the end of the day, I was good backup, and I had good mentality, and I'm a cop's cop, meaning I can shut my mouth. Work has to get done, and that's it. Like
Hmm.
that was it. Like, and the guys knew that, right? Like the guys just knew that. I shut my mouth. I didn't care. I take the blame when shit happened. I take the blame for people. It didn't matter, because they're my brothers. Like it is what it is.
Hmm.
That kind of respect, it people hear about it. You don't have to go out and be the best. I don't know, speed writer, or be the best, interdiction cop, or be the best OUI, or like driving under the influence
Right.
officer.
Right.
As long as you can, as long as your officers know that you are there for them and you have their back, it will just, you're gonna be fine. But
That is, if, I mean, that is so important, because one of the complaints that, and concerns, honestly, as a spouse.
Yeah.
One of the complaints that I hear is, well, how do I trust? I need somebody to have my back. And as a spouse, I want the same thing. I want somebody to have my husband's back. Or in another case, my wife's back, and so for you to say, like, that is one of the most important things as a female officer, that you're that person that can have someone's back. That's huge, because that gives spouses a place of peace. And then I also kind of feel like that helps me as a spouse to respect you.
And that was the next thing I wanted to go into is, especially being a spouse. So now I've really embraced, and I'm going to tell you, okay, I'm kicking and screaming because I've never really been the spouse. I've always been the cop. You know what I mean? I never saw myself as a police spouse, even though I have been one for over 5.5 years now. Like, never saw myself like that. And more recently, I'm like embracing that. And I can tell you that it is intimidating, when our men, right, are, or women, vice versa, okay, right, for any gender, but they're spending, especially if you are a husband listening to this and your wife is with men all the time, it is intimidating. But here's what you need to know. Here's from a female. I want you to hear this. You need to know, as a female, do not come into this job looking for a relationship. I did not come in looking for a relationship. And yes, does it end up, a lot of times women in law enforcement end up with, men in law enforcement. I'll be honest, because I couldn't be with a big pushover. I just couldn't, because this is who I am. Like, I just clearly, listen to my personality. I'd run right over somebody who isn't type A like Adam, and can put me in my spot. So, that, I didn't go in there with that mentality. Now, as the spouse, like, if you can see that the woman doesn't have makeup on, right? Like, that's huge. Like, you don't need to have makeup on to go to work. Your hair needs to be pulled back away from your face. I used to try to look as much like a guy as I could, and I'll tell you why. I avoided so many issues that way, from the spouses, from the, people on the road. Like, people, you're a female, like, they're gonna whistle at you. I got sung to, I got proposed to, I got all this crazy shit.
Yeah.
Guys would get my extension at the PD, and I would have, like, dates lined up. Right? Like, not from officers either.
Right. No, I get it. Yeah.
And they would do that. Like, I didn't need to put makeup on. I didn't need to make my hair look nice. I didn't need to make my uniform fit me so tightly that you saw every curve on my body, because I was getting enough attention. And I talk a lot about this too, and I'm sure you've heard it, but like, for a lot of women coming into this job, they've never had this much attention in their lives. And this is like, whoa, oh my gosh, everybody likes me. And I just have to tell you, no, they don't like you. You have a vagina, and men are pigs. And I'm going to be honest, like, that's just how it is. I've worked with all of them. I know exactly what it is. It has nothing to do with who you are.
Right.
And so, like, let's not, anyways, like, that just sends me, like, over the edge. But you're not in the job to do that and be that way. And, like, that's really what my Lady Sheepdog, like, I'm really in this huge, like, movement of being like, listen, you better be in the job for the right reasons. And if you're not, get out. Or I'm going to wash you out, because we have no time for that, Yes.
That's totally true. So, you have both sides of the fence. Let me go first side. As a female officer, what would you want spouses to know? What would you want wives of male officers that you work with to know? And then the flip side, what would you want your spouse, or what do the husbands need to know?
Yeah, so from the wives, if it were me and you were working with a woman who's got my mindset, which I'm hoping the majority do, we're going to cross our fingers and hope that. You need to know I don't want your man, okay? But he's like a brother to me, and I have to establish some sort of like a relationship with him, like a friendship, just so that, especially if they're my partner, right? Like, I worked with a few men who were my partner. I had a woman who was my partner, and it was amazing. Our chemistry was fantastic. But I'm going to tell you, there was a couple of men who I worked with. They were my partners. One was an older gentleman and one was younger. And the younger gentleman, what we would do is we would get like our couples, we'd spend couples, like our days off, we'd spend it together.
Smart.
So I got to meet his wife, Adam got to know him. And so when we would talk, like when he would go home and talk to his wife and be like, yeah, Autumn and I, she would totally be like, oh yeah, like it's totally like a brother sister thing. Like, you know, it's not. And so like that definitely helped, you know, having the listen, like be straight up. If you're a spouse and you're feeling like, just have the conversation with the girl, like straight up. Like, because if a spouse did that with me, I'd be like, okay, you're getting the wrong impression. You know what I mean? And here's what you need to know. I am not, like, here's where I'm at. So honesty, because you have to understand we're a big family. And if you don't see us as a family, then you're inside emotionally, it's going to wreck you. And you know that, right? Like, and so, you know, being upfront and talking to your spouse and being like, I'm uncomfortable. Like, let's talk, have them over. Let's go out to dinner. I want to talk to her. Like, you know, because there are females, you know, I'll tell you, like Adam and I've had lots of conversations. Like, you know, there are females who appear to me that they're in the job for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
And I'm very straight. Like, I'm very honest about it. Like with him, like I'll say, here's my boundaries. If they are crossed, she'll get a phone call, or I'm going to have a conversation with you, or I'm going to have a conversation with her. And sometimes, here's the thing, it's just miscommunication, because sometimes it's just a girl trying to make this friendship, because there has to be, because they're together all the time and they have to know each other. And so it's like, so what? They're not gonna talk on days off about like just
shit.
Like, just shit. Like, you know, it doesn't need to be all the time, but like, you know, dude, the guy we arrested the other night, he's out. Like, can you believe this shit?
Yes.
Like, that's normal, right? But you know, and then it's like, ladies, like, you're gonna know when it's like just over the line. Like, I don't even have to tell you, but there's definitely crossing the line. But I think, you know, I think as a spouse, you kind of just, it's really open communication, right? Like, you know that.
And I'm glad it's something that I kind of hopefully share with other people. You know, it's that, I hate to use the word transparency. I feel like that's way overused, but you know, if your spouse is coming home and talking about one of the female officers and sharing stories, that's actually a really positive thing, because you're getting to know who that person is. But then, like, if all of a sudden, you know, I don't really, if that changes, that's something to watch out for. But as long as the information is coming in and it's, like you said, that family atmosphere, my take is that that's a positive thing. And I like how you said, you know, sometimes it's just catching up on what's going down, what's happening on that shift, what happened with, you know, the guy you arrested, or what you said. So yeah, good.
And like,
is that kind of similar then for husbands too? Very similar as far as like, it's kind of the same information, it's just flipped. And one of the things, I'm probably going to do a podcast on this later, is talking about ego strength. You know, we have to have our own, on either side, whether you're on the officer side or on the spouse side, it involves a lot of ego strength to have a relationship like this. And if you aren't able to, if you're struggling with something, it's going to come out. So you have to work on yourself and make sure that you feel confident in yourself and confident in your relationship and confident in your spouse.
I couldn't agree more. And one thing that I just want to say is that, like, as far as being the spouse of a female officer, like, I just want you to know, like, that's a hard job. Like, hands down. I know it's hard. I know that probably if I was somebody who didn't get it, it would be 10 times harder. Like, Adam and I, honestly, I'm going to be straight with you, but he knows me. Like, he knows, like, how I am. Like, how you're listening to me is totally how I was on the road, and, like, how I am around the guys. Like, I just kind of identify as one of them. It's like crazy, right? Like, but it is. That's what it is. And like, but I know that if he wasn't a cop and like he wasn't in it, he you know, he would have a completely different outlook. But I just want you to know, if you're a husband of a female, like, I want to give you props, because it is hard. It is hard, and I'm not taking that away from you. And like, you're going to have jealous feelings. Of course you are. You just need to have the conversation. Like, in like exactly what you said, Cindy. Like, if she's coming home and she's like, hey, yeah, so, you know, Tony and I did this, and then, you know, Pete and I, we were like this, and it was awesome, and this guy, you know, whatever. If she's talking to you about the guys, like, totally be interested, go out with them, get to know them. A lot of the guys, I'll be straight with you, like a lot of the guys on the road would love to meet like the females man. Like they're gonna
Yes.
give her shit.
Yes.
But they would like to because they like guys. Like it's cool. It's like a family. They truly, you know. So don't shy away from that either. So that might help.
Yeah. Talk about your project. Talk about your passion. Your Lady Sheepdog Nation. Autumn has a podcast. I think it's Sheepdog Nation, right?
Yeah.
And she's very, I mean, you're getting her like she is right now. She's just very honest, very real. But talk about your Lady Sheepdog project, because I started looking into it. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's exactly what's needed. It's this mentorship and community that you're starting for female officers, right?
Yeah, thank you. It is. So so I'm just gonna back up for just a moment. So
Sure.
the sheepdog. So if you're new to this and you're like, what the hell's a sheepdog? Like I thought it was a legitimate dog. Okay, so there's a book called On Combat, and it Lieutenant Colonel Grossman.
Yep.
I think it's David Grossman.
It's David Grossman. I've talked about it on the podcast before. So yes.
So they know. Okay, so you guys know about that. So
yes,
it's his term, sheepdog, and I don't know. I love that term, sheepdog, because it encompasses so many kinds of people, but it's like we're all the same, you know? Mm-hmm. And so so my Instagram, I'm the Lady Sheepdog, and my people are Sheepdog Nation. And so I started this podcast, and I'm like, obviously I'm calling it Sheepdog Nation. They're like, hello. And then as I've been out and I've been like, you know, just putting myself out there and talking to people, the number one thing, Cindy, that's been happening is women have been coming to me and they're like, Autumn, I don't know. I'm scared. You know, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know how to do this. Like, what do you think? What do you think? And the more I thought about it, I was like, there is nothing for a woman trying to get into law enforcement. And like men, I am there for you. Like, I'm going to be straight with you. I get DMs from men all the time, like getting into the job, going back into the job. Men have been hurt, and I totally want you to know, like I give them a lot of love, and I talk to them and I help them. Mm-hmm. But when I first started, when I was in college and I first started the process, I had to call so many female officers, like not just one, because like just one, I don't know, like they were messed up and like didn't want to give me the time of day. Like I had to call a lot of female cops just to like, how do I act? Like I didn't know how to act. And there were no females on, like there was one female on my department and there was two. One was a detective and one was in the academy. And so like, I'd have to go on ride-alongs with other departments and like females and like watch them and be like, okay, like, cause I can't try to be like a man. I'm not a man. Right. So like, I can't go at every problem like a man does. How does a woman handle it? And then I had to learn. And so anyway, so my Lady Sheepdog movement it's taking women who either want to be in law enforcement, they're going to be going through the process, might be in college, coming out of college, or it's taking like a newer police officer, she's been on 1 to 3, 4 years, and they want community and they want to continue to learn. So I've literally built out an entire library. It took me probably over 100 hours to put it together.
Wow.
From everything, like the college courses you should be looking at, to the academy, how to get through the academy, to how to get through the hiring process, how to do your uniform, how to do your boots, how to do your hair, the mindset, everything, just everything, and like self-defense, like just everything. And I continue to monthly, I add more information, and the whole movement is to really help women become respected and squared away in the job. And I know I'm long-winded. I just have one more thing I want to say.
No, you're fine.
Is because, and the reason, one, this is the first program I've seen in the whole nation like this. I haven't seen anything. So this is like really cutting edge. Number two is what I'm finding is women are coming into this job and they're quickly getting out, or they're quickly hoping that they go into the detective unit.
Or an SRO, which is a school resource officer, right? It's something like that, yeah.
And so my thing is I think that they're not properly prepped. And I think that if they had confidence in themselves, if they had the self-defense, if they knew what was going on, then the road wouldn't seem so scary, the burnout rate wouldn't be so high, and they wouldn't get so much shit because they'd actually be respected and because they're not doing some things. Now listen, I'm not an angel. I screwed up. Like, I fucked my reputation up early in my career because nobody told me. Nobody told me about stupid shit, just dumb shit.
Yeah,
and I had to rebuild it. And so that's and I talk about that in the Lady Sheepdog Academy. I'm like, hey, I did this, don't do it.
and you talk about it on the podcast too.
Yeah. So. And so I'm really passionate about that. I'm really passionate about bringing change to law enforcement as a whole. And for me, I felt like this is kind of my way in. If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I think it's a calling, and you're exactly right. I have never seen anything out there for female law enforcement officers like you're talking about, and that's why when you put that out there, I was like, holy cow, that's going to be, you're going to blow up. So it's awesome, and that's why I was so excited to like even help you spread this, because as it's not, that doesn't benefit just the female officers. It benefits the department. It benefits the community. It benefits the family, as far as the Blue family. You know, it benefits everyone. It's that ripple effect, right? So that's why I'm like, this is great. So tell me, I guess where I'll go is, how does somebody get a hold of you if they want to access your program? Or is it a program? Is it mentoring, coaching, all of it? What?
So what it is, so the lady, you can come on to Instagram. So if you guys aren't on Instagram, then you can go on Facebook. So you're probably on one of them. But Instagram is like where I hang out the most, at the Lady Sheepdog. You can find my podcast. It's probably going to be in the same stuff as the one you're listening to now if you're on iTunes. It's like the same category. It's just Sheepdog Nation. And so the Lady Sheepdog movement, what this is it's a membership, it's like a membership library kind of. So and it's a program where I'm very active in it. So you have access to me more than you would if you were just to DM me. And you come in, and it's a monthly membership. So you get a whole week for free, and you get everything during that week. Like, I'm not holding anything back, because my vision is, it's so damn good that you're going to be like, all right, I'm in, like, I'm so and that's what's been happening. So that's really good. And then it's just $27 a month after. Yeah, it's so affordable, because I want every woman who can, I want them in this, because my heart, like, listen, I could do this for free, but this is my livelihood.
I was going to say, you got to make money, right? Yeah. I mean, but $27 is nothing. I mean, that is amazing. What an opportunity.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm excited because, Cindy, I'll tell you is I'm actually going and I'm getting my master's degree, and I'll have that completed. And so what I'm really excited is that I'm going to take that information from the college, like the new college information that I can get to my girls and help them. Like, okay, here's what the departments are looking for. Like, here's what they're teaching. Let me help you. And I'm going to be bringing that right into the program.
Oh my gosh. God, this is going to be amazing. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
So if you want to get a hold of Autumn, really seriously, Instagram's the best way to get a hold of her, which is the Lady Sheepdog, or you can check her out on Facebook. She is always on Instagram, putting out information, giving you her opinions, and she's really active in her community as well. I know that you are supporting some of the officers there in your community, and after was it a sheriff's officer that was shot?
Yeah.
So I know that you've been helping out and trying to make sure that they are supported during that time.
Thank you.
Autumn, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody benefited from this today, to get that female perspective. And I really love some of the things that you said about having that mindset and being able to be that backup. So very good. Thank you so much, Autumn. I appreciate it.
No, thank you, Cindy. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.